Hello again. This short video covers a topic related to recognition of states, the recognition of governments, but both topics need to be distinguished. As it is the case for recognition of states, the recognition of governments is a highly politicized issue with important legal implications at international and domestic level. The recognition of a government only becomes relevant when there is a change of government that does not follow the constitutional rules of a particular state, or if it is born from insurrection. Many times this becomes an issue when it appears that the outcome of a particular election is fraudulent. We'll have a very quick look to some examples to illustrate the issues arising from the topic of recognition of government. For instance, as a matter of policy, many states, including the United Kingdom, refrain from making explicit declarations of recognitions because this can be easily perceived as interference in the domestic affairs of another state. Instead, in theory, the recognition of a government should be inferred from how that country, how the UK treats another government. Also, in theory, the recognition or non-recognition depends on objective criteria and in particular on the effective control over the territory of that government. However, being a politicized issue, this rule has many exceptions, and whether a government is considered legitimate independently of its control over the territory will have relevance. In extreme cases, totally ineffective governments sitting outside the country have been recognized as such by other states. So we have the phenomenon of the governments in exile. As a preliminary issue, we should also consider that recognizing a new state normally implies a recognition of the government that has control over the majority of that territory, especially if the recognition of the state is responding to the criteria of effective government, territory and population being absolutely present. However, the non-recognition of a government does not imply non-recognition of established state. So, for instance, the Taliban had, during quite a long period of time, the control over the vast majority of the territory of Afghanistan. However, the international community was recognizing as legitimate government the government in exile and never recognized the Taliban. It is not possible, for obvious reasons, to recognize a government without recognizing the state that government is representing. So let's try to see, as I said, very few examples of this. So after the opposition party of Venezuela claimed in the 2018 election of President Maduro was fraudulent, many European states decided to recognize the head of the opposition, Juan Guaidó, as the new president. The Organization of American States also recognized Guaidó, while the United Nations kept the credentials of the Maduro government. The situation remains unstable with a division between who is the leader of the National Assembly, the opposition, and who heads the government, Maduro. Maduro also continues to control the territory. Here, recognition of the government does not denote effectivity, but political support for a particular group when more than one entity claims to be the governmental representative of a state. In July 2011, the then UK Foreign Secretary William Hague declared that the National Transitional Council of Libya was the sole governmental authority of Libya, and it expelled the diplomats associated to the Gaddafi regime from London. A few months later, or more than a year later, in November 2012, Hague made a similar declaration in relation to the National Coalition of the Syrian Revolutionary and Opposition Forces, declaring they were the sole legitimate representative of the Syrian people. These kind of declarations, when a former government is still in power, raise issues of breaches of international law for interference in the domestic affairs of another state. However, these declarations, while political, bring some certainty in the legal sphere. So the uncertainty on recognition of governments affects accreditation before international organizations, uncertainty over who has full powers to conclude treaties, which officials enjoy immunity, etc. Therefore, when a government clearly declares which government they are recognizing, they help clarify this issue for very practical reasons. So, for instance, the change in the recognition of government by the UK regarding Libya is reflected in a significant number of cases addressed by British courts.